Bitcoin set me free. So that's the economic financial aspect. Then it gives you more time so you can set your mind free and learn a lot of knowledge on that end. And Bitcoin's like your armor, right? And so that's why I feel so confident, because not only have I had the last 10 years where I didn't have to slave away working, where I got to gain more knowledge, but I also had this armor to protect me from inflation, from all these other things. Housing's getting cheaper, cars are getting cheaper, gas is getting cheaper. It's a trap. They get them. Nothing in life is free, or else the government would have given us free health care, right? And so it's a joke, and people to this day have masks on and stuff like that. And when you are free and a free thinker, you're better looking, you're stronger, you can control your eating, and then as soon as I started understanding Bitcoin, I went from that consumer mindset to, oh shoot, I'm saving the time value of money, I'm saving my energy, and it's going to be exponential down the road. Why would I want to spend and buy this thing now, even though I can afford it? I could buy 10 of those if I just wait 5 years. I got to support that as a Republican. I was like, hold on, nope, let me support the Bitcoin party, because we have to support our community. And if we all come together, then the Republicans and the Democrats will say, oh, there is something else, right? There is infinite intelligence and universal law compared to man-made law and man-made money, right? So if you can give them some knowledge or a cure, aka Bitcoin, then maybe they will get cured of the disease, the cancer, which is the fiat money and the government and the fear base that's ruling everything, right? You're watching now, finally, money and state separate.
All right, we are live. Welcome back to the pod. This is Real Hard Money. I'm Caliph. Please, before we jump in, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, helps us grow. And remember, we do this for free. We do it for the love. Okay? So, today, we have a special guest, an OG to the space, Jeff Gucci Long, a Bitcoin maximalist since 2013, proudly unvaccinated and featured on top crypto podcasts, champions free speech and financial freedom through Bitcoin. Jeff Gucci Long, welcome to the show. How are you?
Caliph, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for having me on, my friend. I appreciate it.
Of course. I saw you just by chance on X, as we do, on another pod, and you spoke about your journey all the way since 2013 with Bitcoin. So can you give the listeners and the Real Hard Money fam a little bit about your background and why you love Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, Bitcoin set me free. So that's the economic financial aspect. Then it gives you more time so you can set your mind free and learn a lot of knowledge on that end. But I got in 2013. It was probably under $200. And I learned from Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert, and I found them on RT News, and I just watched them all the time. That was like my news source. And so when you get something like Max Kaiser, talking about it, I was orange pilled, not right away, but I would say after watching them maybe 4 or 5 times. And then I bought Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, I would say, it was disguised as an investment, right? So I got into it thinking, oh, I'm going to have more money to go buy nicer things. I'm pretty sure that's why everybody gets into Bitcoin originally, right? And then I went down the rabbit hole and discovered, holy cow, there's Bitcoin and then there's crypto. Because, of course, when I first got in, I bought other cryptos, I tried other things, and some of them worked out great, but most of them, almost all of them, have not performed over time like Bitcoin. So I would say when you first get into Bitcoin, you'll probably understand this because you got in 2017, so you're an OG as well, is when you first get around Bitcoin, it's like, you have that smell of Bitcoin on you when you first start to understand it, right? And then after about 5 years, it's like it's in your blood, it's pumping through your blood, right? And then after about a decade, it becomes part of your DNA, right? And so I wouldn't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat. I am the Bitcoin Orange Party now, especially that I see what is going on with both sides of the party over here in the United States. It's really ridiculous. And so we just I opted out of the financial system. So why can't we just opt out of the whole government system right away? So I think that's coming, and lots of changes are coming. But yeah, that's when I got into Bitcoin. And, now been a firm believer for many years. And now I'm finally going on podcasts and just explaining and sharing my love for Bitcoin and trying to be a pillar of the community for Bitcoin. Because listening to a lot of people on their podcasts, they were saying, "Oh, I got in 2019, or I got in 2020," and I'm like, "Holy cow, I got in 2013." I was like, it's been a wild ride, and I've had that belief for a long time, right? And so it finally feels good where people recognize that and say, "Holy cow, you did what very few people have done." I think I did the numbers and it said there was like around 70,000. It was around that many people got into Bitcoin when I got in, accumulated what they did and held around. So I guess I'm pretty rare when it comes to that. But yeah, more questions for me. I'm ready.
2013, man. Wow. You're in pretty rare company,
Yeah.
when you talk about 2013. So tell us, what was the vibe like in 2013?
Everybody thought it was
Bitcoin.
fake internet money. So everybody I talked to, "Oh, you're getting into
Mhm.
fake internet money. Oh, it's really risky. Don't put all your eggs in one basket." I've heard everything, right?
Mhm.
And so it was more of there was no belief because nobody knew anything about it, right? And I felt like I had some conviction, but not nearly as much conviction after 10 plus years. But I thought, this has something because I didn't believe in stocks, right? And I'm pretty good with numbers. So after listening to Max Kaiser, and he's like, "It's going to a million, it's going to 10 million." And I'm thinking, well, the numbers, right, makes sense because there's only 21 million. So if I can have this amount and it even does what I think it's going to do, then guess what, Caliph? I'm not going to be the 1% of the world. I'm not going to be the 0.1%. I'm going to be the 0.0001% in the entire world when it comes to Bitcoin standards. So I'm like, this is my one chance. And I truly believe the power of manifestation and thinking positive. Because if you think positive, positive things happen. That's the outcome you get. But I didn't really see too many vehicles to get me to where I wanted to go, including I had my own business, right, that I just kind of closed down this year. And as an auto broker selling cars, so I was doing pretty well, selling all makes and models in California, dealing with all types of customers, all ethnicities, having a blast. But it wasn't fulfilling in here, which is what Bitcoin does, So
Mm.
it's been a journey, but it's something that when you understand Bitcoin, you have to back it because it's like, we're all in a spiritual battle and Bitcoin's like your armor, right? And so that's why I feel so confident because not only did have I had the last 10 years where I didn't have to slave away working, where I got to gain more knowledge, but I also had this armor to protect me from inflation, from all these other things. Housing's getting cheaper, cars are getting cheaper, gas is getting cheaper, and I'm in California. Gas is $6 a gallon, right? And everything's expensive. You go to Starbucks, and one Starbucks is $7 for a large, right? It's pretty expensive out here, right? I listen. The house I live in, I pay was it 10 grand a year in taxes, just in taxes. That's like renting out a room. It's ridiculous. So the Bitcoin, I feel like the suit of armor fit me well. Everybody should have one and not get, the fear-based mindset like the government promotes and media promotes and every, government place out there's doing it. It seems like all the countries, everybody, all the elites.
Small correction. It's not a large, it's a venti,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at
That is
Starbucks.
that is true. I don't go to Starbucks all the time, but you're right. It's a venti. I did figure the people that don't go to Starbucks would be like, "Oh, large." It's like going to Burger King or something. But yeah, no, you are right.
Yeah, I'm busting your chops because I used to be a barista in Starbucks
Mm.
way back in the day.
For Starbucks,
That's
or for
right.
your own,
Back.
for like a different place.
Starbucks. I used to work in Starbucks in
Wow,
South Orange, New Jersey when I went to Seton Hall University. Yes, I did.
wow. Did they have
Enjoyed
the
learning
rainbow
about their
flags?
drink.
Did they have the rainbow flags all over Starbucks back then, or no?
No, no, this was
Every Starbucks you go to out here,
way
rainbow
before that.
flags everywhere, and they're all joining the different sects. They're all, it's crazy. You go in there, and I hear when I go through the drive-through maybe once a month, I'll hear like a girl's voice, and you pull up, and it's a
Yeah,
dude. Like, oh man, what the heck? But welcome to California.
we're just making things up at this point.
It's funny, yeah. It's crazy. So it's like the one baseline of truth seems to be Bitcoin. So cheers to that.
Exactly. So I want to get back on to something you mentioned and you touched on. You said Bitcoin was good for in here. It was good for your soul.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I would say it's the closest thing to God's money or infinite intelligence's money, right? I believe that, part of me believes, because nobody knows, right? That Satoshi could be an entity that isn't from this realm, could be someone from the future, could be AI, could be a bunch of things, because any human would be taking those Satoshis out right now and spending some Bitcoin, or they would want the fame, or maybe they're dead, right? There's who knows, but it's God's money versus a small group of men's money, right? And so when you go down that rabbit hole and you start learning these things, if you understand it and you use it, and then over time, the veil, like the Matrix, starts to just disappear, and you start to realize, holy cow, it's just about fear. When does our taxes, the 10 grand that I spend a year, what do I get out of that besides, oh, you have to put a mask on, oh, you have to get snake venom in your arm, all these horrible things. I was the only one going into Costco, me and my wife were going into Costco with no masks on, and they would chase us around. No, sir, you got to wear a mask. You got to wear a mask. And I would just say, no, I don't believe it. And, oh, who do I, why do I have to do it? Oh, my boss said so. I said, tell your boss I'm disappointed in him. And then the look on their face was just like, what the heck? And then I kept shopping and they left me alone and it was awesome. And now when I go to Costco, they're like, oh, there's that freedom guy.
Uh-huh.
It's good to be a free thinker, and Bitcoin lets you do that, because how can you be a free thinker if you're always chasing something is great? Because you have to have the spirit, you have to have the solid mind, you have to understand how to eat, right? You have to understand how to be healthy and fit, right? You have to understand then economics and the money. So if once you understand Bitcoin, that takes that out, right? You could be all of these, but it's very difficult to do the economic unless you find the right vehicle to get you there. Bitcoin's the best vehicle to get you to where you want to go, right? And I haven't seen a better one. I've been my own boss, right? And I'm one of the best salesmen that I know selling cars. And, investing here and there and just trying, everything. Like a hustler would in California to get to where he wants, right? And the best vehicle to get me to the peace of mind that I'm at now is Bitcoin. Nothing else, really.
All right. So being in Bitcoin since 2013, what's the one thing that has changed that shocked you in all this time?
The President Trump talking about Bitcoin. I think that was probably one of the best things, because my dad, all his friends, those type people that don't need Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't really need them, then they would say, oh, this has some validity to it. This is real. This is not just internet fake money anymore. If the president says it is, and his sons, and, they kind of go for it. If everybody thinks Trump's so smart, when he said it, it was kind of like, okay, so now I can say, well, the president of the United States is for it. They are going to get a, Bitcoin strategic reserve, right? That's probably the two best things, Trump and the strategic reserve, which they haven't even put any Bitcoin in it. And so I'm really disappointed in the Republican Party, right? And one thing that just came to my mind just the other day, right? We have almost, they say, 11 to 20 million illegal immigrants in the United States, right? But who cares? Most of them, 99.9, are great, wonderful people, right? But once you're here illegally, you can't then get your citizenship because you're already here illegally breaking the law. It's like a weird little thing, right? But when you're fleeing a stressful situation, you have nothing. How are you going to just do it the legit way? So I guess they just come in or whatever. But my theory would be, if charge zero point 0.1 Bitcoin and get your citizenship. So we sell 10 million of these, and then the immigrants would want to get them sooner than later, because then the price is just going to go up. That is a very easy, simple way where the United States can get 1 million Bitcoin and help out everybody where they don't have to live in fear. They're doing two things simultaneously, and then they can work on getting the criminals out, because I totally believe if you want to get anybody out of the country, get all the criminals out. We have a ton of homeless people here in Santa Cruz because it's beautiful weather, beaches, all the good stuff. Well, most of them are on drugs and they commit a lot of crime. Why don't you send all them and everybody else and find a nice little area and put them there instead of some of the best people I know that just come here and go, oh, well, they have a driver's license, right? They're paying their taxes. They have a house. They have a car. They have insurance. They have everything. They're great, hardworking people. And all of a sudden, oh, you didn't get this document. Let me come in and create this fear. And then I got to support that as a Republican. I was like, hold on. Nope. Let me support the Bitcoin party because, we have to support our community. And if we all come together, then the Republicans and the Democrats will say, oh, there is something else, right? There is infinite intelligence and universal law compared to man-made law and man-made money, right? And I tell people, you're watching, how the church and state separated. You're watching now finally money and state separate. And 10 years ago when I first got, after 2 years of it being into Bitcoin, I was like, that's a possibility, but it was like maybe a 5% chance. And now it's like a 99.9% chance in my mind. And so seeing the community grow is also amazing because I started, being more active on X, like just this year, like the beginning of 2025, because I've been on Facebook for so long promoting Bitcoin, and I don't know if I've been censored or what, or the groups are horrible, but the community on X is 100 times better. So, I think that I
Could
found
be a
the
little
community.
toxic though, but it could be a little toxic, but it could be a little toxic on X.
Facebook's way
I
worse.
find that there's a big difference between a Bitcoiner on X and a crypto guy, crypto bro on X.
Yeah.
Crypto
Yeah.
bros, they're talking about
Crypto
Lambos and Bitcoin guys, we're talking about like homesteading, raising your children right, family,
Yeah.
values, eating steak, working out, longer time frame, mentality, living this crypto fiat life. It makes you feel like you're in a rush, check to check, can't catch up, can't keep up, can't keep your head above water. And life's not about that, right? Life is abundance, right?
Yeah.
Right? And Bitcoin kind of wakes you up to that.
Yeah, it's like the tickets to escape the matrix are priced in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And luckily we got a lot cheaper prices to escape, and here we are. We're happy, we're free, we're going the extra mile doing these things to help people out, just like Max Kaiser did with us.
Okay. I love Max, man.
Me too. Yeah, 100%.
So Jeff Gucci Long, I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
Bitcoin's your religion. How do you convert skeptics who see it as a speculative bubble?
Well, now I can tell them I'm retired. Before it was, I'm still working and stuff, so it's a little bit harder on that end. But when I talked to them, I asked them, like, how's everything going with you? Oh, I don't have any money. Some of my friends, oh, I can't go on this lobster trip with you. A lot of marriages break up because of money, right? There's so many things that I see happening behind the scenes just because people are caught up in that fiat grind of have to chase something that's printed. It's almost like this slave mentality kind of. And so I just break it down. I have so many different angles to do it. I usually would, see and depend on how they are, right? Are they older? Are they younger? Because the older people, I'll be like, look, how's your kid going to afford a house, right? Because if he wants to get a house, well, now you can get a whole house for one Bitcoin, and not a whole house for Bitcoin, but you get a whole Bitcoin now, and then in 5-10 years you get a whole house, right? Or you don't store your value in energy in Bitcoin, and then you have to save and work and grind when the house is going to be even more expensive to get down the road, and your worthless fiat money is going to be worth even less. So then I'm like, how's your son going to do it, right? And then I usually look and say, look at how I'm an example, right? And so the best marketing for Bitcoin is the price, obviously. And so when the price goes up, then I feel like, oh, well, I can spend more on lifestyle chips. And then that also shows them, well, look, you have more lifestyle chips as well. Because I actually, when I wasn't into Bitcoin, I looked like I had a ton of money. I had a Gucci everything, super nice watch, everything to make me look like I had a lot of money, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I started understanding Bitcoin, I went from that consumer mindset to, oh shoot, I'm saving the time value of money. I'm saving my energy, and it's going to be, exponential down the road. Why would I want to spend and buy this thing now, even though I can afford it? I could buy 10 of those if I just wait 5 years, And so, orange pill and everybody, it just depends on the person, to be honest with you.
Okay. So yeah, you've experienced like uh kind of out of nowhere wealth when Bitcoin skyrocketed, right? About,
Yeah.
2020 was crazy. 2017 was crazy, right?
I think it was 2017 when it went up to like almost 19 grand or something like that.
Yes.
Was that? Yep, yep. And so that was life changing where I looked down at my phone, right? Because it's not my bank account. It's not like a wad of cash. It's not like an expensive car. I just look at my phone. I'm like, holy cow, this is what people work their entire lives and have a goal to get. Now what do I do, right? And it was a moment that it was like, do I sell it? Which hindsight I should have, obviously, but I was like, do I sell it or do I believe, right? So I did sell a little bit when it was that high to go buy a Bentley at the time, right? So I ran a convertible Bentley just to have a little flex. It was used, don't. So I got a good deal. I'm a car sales guy. But then when it dropped back down to 3 grand, guess what? I sold that Bentley and put it all back into Bitcoin. So that's when I said hindsight, I should have sold it all, but that it never crossed my mind. It was like, sell a little now, get your dream car, and then just wait. And I'm glad I did it, because then it got me even more Bitcoin, going from maybe it was like over 15 when I sold it down to 3 grand. Then I bought more. The conviction was real. And it reminded me back in like 2013, 14, 15, around when I started accumulating and kept accumulating, where the price went up to 1,000 and then back down to 200. And I'm like, shoot, I bought a bunch of Bitcoin at $1,000, or not a bunch, but I bought some Bitcoin at $1,000, and now it's 200. Like, what do I do? And the little voice of Max Kaiser's in there, like, buy more, buy more. And then I went and bought a bunch more, knowing in the back of my mind, at least it's going to go back up to $1,000, right? And then it goes up to the 17,000, And so, but it's math, right? And you have supply, demand. It comes back down to the simple math. And when people get that, and then they see where it's at now, then they should understand that it's going up forever.
Going up forever, Laura.
Yep, it's going up forever, Laura. I love that.
So you're a free speech warrior guy. I can tell you all about your free speech and your...
Yeah, anti-vax, no vaccines, don't trust the government. My thing about that is, like, I'm a hunter too, right? And I go spearfishing, hunting. So it's like, you got to understand the animal kingdom and Mother Nature a little bit, right? And so a little rabbit goes out and finds a big thing of carrots and comes back to the mother rabbit and says, look, I found all these carrots, right? Mother rabbit's like, look, little one, that's a trap. Hunter's going to get you. BS runs back to get the free jabs, get the hamburger, whatever. It's a trap. They get them. Nothing in life is free, or else the government would have given us free health care, right? And so it's a joke, and people to this day have masks on and stuff like that. And I don't know, but I'm a big believer. When you are free and a free thinker, you're better looking, you're stronger, you can control your eating, you can work out, you have all these other things to build a strong body and mind, than just sit there and go, oh, shoot, I need to go eat McDonald's, have Starbucks, I need to get this vaccine, and I need to go to work, and then I need to take my money and put it in some 401 something I'm never going to see, and then they go by what they think is legit, which is taught in school, which everybody else is telling them to do. But that's the old dying system, right? It's like Noah's Ark is saying, hey, this is going to happen, and everyone's like, it's never rained for 40 days and 40 nights or whatever. You know what I mean? You're just crazy. But he saw the writing on the wall. We see the writing on the wall. We just don't want to be alone, because we want to bring up our neighbors, our friends, and family. We don't want BlackRock and all these elites having all the Bitcoin. So I like to, I feel like it's my moral obligation to just spread the word of Satoshi, because of that, and because of how much it is directly correlated to freedom.
Do you think BlackRock's going to mess up Bitcoin in some way?
No, because it's built, they're buying our bags, it's helping us out. Anybody that buys Bitcoin, I would never say anything bad about, because it's freedom, it's math, it's money, right? I would say that it's like game recognized game. If you're seeing them do that, why wouldn't you do it? It's like real estate. People see that and go, oh, I should go off. It's an investment, but we just happen to have the fastest horse in the race.
How do you handle centralization on these centralized crypto platforms?
Like crypto.com and Coinbase.
Yeah, things
I
like
use
that.
them. I use them. I
Mhm.
started on Coinbase because there wasn't really a safe way I thought of buying it back in the day. And then I kind of moved over to crypto.com because of I can spend on the Visa card and get money back. And then I can also stake it and get interest. If I'm not gonna spend it or get interest on it, then there's no need to have it on the centralized network. You put it on your cold storage. So when you're someone like me, where you have the house, the car, you have everything, and you want to retire, you can have some lifestyle tips to play with in these casinos of getting interest back, knowing that it is a little bit of a risk, right? But these are the safest ones in my mind, and the interest isn't a lot, but if you have a good amount, then it's worth it because you're like, well, I don't want to spend my Bitcoins, right? And I'd rather get a little bit, forgive a little bit. And I think I'm only giving a little bit on these exchanges. I dodged FTX. I've dodged all these other crazy things because I just was like, I have Coinbase. Why would I go to these other shady exchanges, right? And so I think those type exchanges that are pretty legit saved me from the other ones that are not legit because it's hard to do everything on the ledger, and then when you want to spend Bitcoin, it's so easy to do on the Visa card. So
Mhm.
everywhere I go, I'm just spending Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin. So I would say it's like a double-edged sword. You get good, but at the same time, if it becomes an FTX or if the government seizes it, you're kind of screwed, right? Or if they're hacked, I
Mhm.
mean, who knows? But I would say those are like the two safest exchanges that I trust. I would never use anything else because I haven't used it in the past and I haven't studied it. I haven't done anything. I don't need to. But I would say everyone should do their own research. And if they're thinking about using those, make sure that you're getting something out of it and you're not getting a super high rate of interest, because then most likely it's going to be that FTX type thing where they're going to take all your stuff. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah, that's just
Since
my
I'm talking,
yeah, that's just my theory.
okay, you drinking on some coconut water?
Yeah, when you're a Bitcoiner, you drink this, you have eco water, and it's just for fun. It's just because in my mind, I'm thinking I need to live at least another 30 years because they're gonna have reverse aging in 20 to 40 years.
Right, right, right. Stay
I'm
good, and
thinking,
then they'll like
yeah,
maintain you for another
hmm
50.
yeah.
But do
So,
we want to
so
live that long? That's the
yeah.
question.
It will, who knows, right? But I'm an optimist. I love life. I think it's amazing.
Right, right.
I have very little fear. I go down to the bottom of the ocean here in Santa Cruz and Monterey, where the
Mhm.
great whites are, and I shoot big halibut and lingcod, and they're bleeding out on my stringer, and I'm swimming around underwater. And you have to take that fear and say and suppress it because you have to just do the numbers game and say, well, most likely it's not going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
life's a gamble like that. But the more it's like risk reward, right? So I'm risking my life, but the reward is the best tasting, most amazing fish, and you're having a camaraderie with other guys. And when you have this, like this mastermind alliance with these other guys that have a spearfishing adventure underwater, you're getting big fish. You're always having a great time. It's not fun, and it's hard to get fish when you do it by yourself. It's weird. When you have a group, it's like you have a group of people, you can accomplish anything. I've dove with guys where we go down and we see a 20-foot great white, and then we go out and we go diving in. Right? We're like, forget it. And nobody ever gets bit. No one, it's just one of those things that you have to have that mindset. So if you have that mindset where I don't need to work for the fiat system, let me figure out where I can have my value, maybe stored a different way or earned a different way. Because when you start working for the system, you're taxed right away before you even get your money. Then you're taxed at the end of the year. Then you're taxed for the place you buy. You have super high gas. You have all these things keeping everybody down. It's just a crazy thing out here, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing.
Gas is $6 in Cali right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're
So
lucky,
you're
you
in
can find
Cali.
it for closer to 5, and then if you go to a nicer place, it's like 7. So the average is like $6.
Wow. Six
Yeah.
bucks a gallon.
Yeah.
So you're in Cali, but you're hunting Alaska's top Crypto Star? What's
Alaska.
going
No,
on
no,
with it?
no. Santa Cruz and Monterey is where I go down and spearfish. Did I say
Okay.
Alaska?
No, no, you didn't say that. I thought I read something on your profile about Alaska, but I might have misread.
No, maybe one of my buddies went to Alaska and spearfished some halibut and stuff. I've never been,
Hmm.
but we have
Okay.
huge halibut here that I go spearfishing and stuff. So yeah, I don't really need to go to Alaska for that.
No, I always wanted to do that big fish, big fishing, spear
Yeah.
fishing,
Well, all of
fishing.
Jesus's friends were fishermen. So, and
Yeah.
actually, and all my friends that are fishermen, there's guys from Ukraine, Russia,
Hmm.
Democrats, Republicans, all walks of life, but we come together, we have a great time, none of that matters, and we just have a blast. We get each other's back, and it's a great experience. That's how
Hmm.
society should be, coming together
Yeah.
to reap the benefits of Mother Nature while having a blast instead of going to stores to buy fish that's farmed, because you're basically killing Mother Nature when people go, oh, I need to go, work my butt off for this fiat printed money and then go buy what is hurting Mother Nature. And so when you take a step back and you get to, like, I have my own garden, and just try to do things more self-sufficient and be more self-sovereign. And, it's a beautiful thing because Mother Nature, think about this. You plant a seed, right? You're not going to get something right
Hmm.
away.
Hmm.
But if you water it and you take care of it, Mother Nature gives you back more than you can ever ask for, right? And then you can feed your whole family if it's an apple tree. Then you can start giving away the apples, right? And I think that's like Bitcoin. And I tell people, they say, when should I buy Bitcoin? Is now a good time? I say, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or right now, right? And so you have to have that mindset, plant those seeds, water, and you get all the, reap all the benefits. It's amazing, but nobody gets to that level, right? They get an apple of seeds and they just throw it away, right? They live in these
Right.
cities, and nothing's real. The money's not real, and it's just amazing. And for instance, like Elon Musk got $38 billion from our tax money, right? Yet there's 14 million hungry kids in the United States. That would feed them for many years. And instead, it went to somebody to shoot up rockets into space or whatever. I think him putting satellites in space for internet's amazing, but that's all government funded stuff, which means the government can also be putting energy weapons, anything else they want out there to spy or anything along with those satellites. We don't know, but that's $38 billion. I'd rather have my neighbors eating and happy than and teaching them how to use their mind, right? And be, a productive citizen or productive person instead of just, basically, consuming themselves to death, right? Like, for instance, like me being a Bitcoiner, right? I fast every Wednesday. So for 36 hours, I don't eat any food, just coconut water or coffee or just water, right? But that's the power of the mind. Most people, when they just feel like they're hungry and they consume even when they're not hungry, right? So that's what they're doing. They think they're hungry. They think they're poor. They think they need to show that they're not poor. In reality, nobody cares. It's a mindset that they're learning from the propaganda when they should turn it off, go plant some trees, go buy some Bitcoin and relax, enjoy life, go down to the ocean and get your fish, right? You go hunting, go get some meat, go grow your own, meat or livestock, whatever, chickens. You could do a million things to be more self-efficient. And so I see that people should understand that and and use that infinite intelligence compared to the AI and what the computer's telling them. Because AI is not going to say, "Oh, get off me, get off, put your phone down and go run." No, they're going to say, order Chipotle and we're going to send it right to your house. DoorDash, right? They don't even get in their car and drive anymore. I see DoorDash is going to all my neighbors' house and they're like, oh, here you go, here you go. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm out running with my son and I got him a little electric motorcycle and I'm running with him and, doing whatever I can to stay active. And I get to spend all this time with my family, which is amazing. So, I
That's
just tell
probably the
everybody, get,
greatest
what
benefit, right?
was that?
It just, that's probably the greatest
Mm-hmm.
benefit, the time with the family, because
Yeah,
you don't get it back. And time is the most
exactly.
precious
And
resource.
and so hear me out. One of the hardest things that I had to do was this year is to retire, kind of, right? Because you have that mindset that enough is never enough, right? And I thought, and I said, if I didn't have Bitcoin, I would not retire right now, right? Because everything's getting more expensive. And I will have to just keep working to get there. Knowing that I have Bitcoin, I did the math in my head. I'm like, why the heck would I work my butt off for 10 years to make this much in fiat terms, which is going to be even less in the future for purchasing power, when I can just sit back and relax knowing that Bitcoin is going to be worth this much in 10 years. So why would I sacrifice 10 years of my life for this much energy, knowing that the energy I have here is going to end up here, right? And so it was really difficult, but then I thought I'll put that extra energy out there with Bitcoin, with the community, with my family, with spearfishing and vacationing, with just enjoying life, being healthy, right? Having peace of mind, working on all those things instead of I'll be back. I got to go sell some cars and I got to support my business. And the other thing is retiring when you work for someone else is probably easy because you're like, I got to get the heck out of here. I loved what I did. I still love, if I could sell a car and stuff, I just use my best friend's company and use his broker business. So I still can sell a car, but to cancel your own business that's successful, that has 50 perfect reviews online, all 5-star, and you like what you're doing is difficult. But it didn't make sense for the time and the value to put into it. And even my wife, who understands Bitcoin and got into it in 2013, it's still even difficult for her. She's like, go work. And I'm like, okay, you want me to go work? And then we got to pay someone to watch our kid. And in reality, I don't need to work for what? To go buy another house or 3 other? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I have everything I could ever want. Now let's work on peace of mind, because here's another thing is you could have all the money in the world. You could have all the Bitcoin in the world. But what does it matter if you don't have peace of mind, right? And so these are things you learn as you get into Bitcoin, and it becomes part of your DNA. You have to learn these things, because if not, you spend it, because then you have that fiat mindset, like, I have this much, I got to spend, or I got to do this, or I got to go buy a house. I don't need Bitcoin. When in reality, houses can be built easy, right? Bitcoin, you can't build any more Bitcoin. Oh, a side note, I went to Colorado for a wedding, and I went into the Colorado, the Rocky Mountains. We went into a gold mine, right? So I got paid to explore a gold mine where they take you on a tour. We're going through, and she's like, look, there's a gold vein right here. And you see scattered like a vein through, the top of, the mountain, because we're in the mountain, way in this gold mine. And she's like, there's gold, there's gold. Oh, and by the way, we stopped mining, but back there's tons and tons of gold. And I'm like, and I'm the only one thinking like, oh my gosh, everybody's like gold, gold, gold. But wait till they get some robots and gold's $5,000 an ounce. They'll just send some robots in there, get it out or whatever, or find gold out of the ocean. And that was just one mine. They had 20,000 mines out there. So they have, they said like, I don't know if it's 100 tons of gold just in that area. So when people say, oh, gold, 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 right? It's like, hey, they'll just go get more of it. Just like they can print more money, there'll only ever be 21 million. And since we have all us humans coming together saying, hey, this is the closest thing to God's money, to baseline reality that we can all agree on, right? I don't see any other thing as close as Bitcoin. Then let's embrace it and use it. Why the heck not, right? Because if not, you're trapped in the matrix. You're trapped in the old system. And, and it's like, good luck to those people, And I do think everyone will own Bitcoin. It's just at what price, right?
Right. You just said God's money, and that reminds me of Bitcoin Chris, one of my first guests. He says God's money as well when he is referring to Bitcoin. So that's very interesting. It's interesting, the spiritual journey that Bitcoin
Well, think about this. Let's say... What?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's say an alien civilization, right? Some galactic federation wanted to come and have us join them, right? But let's say you're a group of people that are doing very well, and you see somebody over there that's sick, that's coughing, that's pooping all over himself, that's acting weird. You're not going to want to have them join, right? So if you can give them some knowledge or a cure, aka Bitcoin, then maybe they will get cured of the disease, the cancer, which is the fiat money and the government and the fear base that's ruling everything, right? Because they say the root of all money is evil, or the root of all evil is money. And so if you think about what they're doing, it's a cancer in the body, right? And if you have a cancer in your body or your digestion isn't harmonious, you feel like crap, you're not thinking good. If you have coughing all over, you have a fever, nobody wants to be around you, right? So Bitcoin is the cure to get rid of that cancer so you can fast, you can think good, you can, clear up that body, aka like the world. So then we can become, if there are these other entities, other dimensions, who knows, right? Nobody really knows. But then I think we would be accepted if we all thought like how me and you think, because then there's no need for any bombs. There's no need for us all to say, oh, we're so different, when in reality, we're all made of the same stuff. Right? And it's all space, it's all energy. And so who and what is trying to make us all live in this fear-based mindset is really intriguing to me. Everything's dual, right? You have good, you have bad. There's equal amount. So you have this bad that's coming down on us. Now we have something that's equally good, Bitcoin and us and our collective consciousness turning this way. They say it's like the age of Aquarius, right? Like the awakening or whatever that they say. And then when I start hearing those people talk, and then I start seeing what's going on, I go, maybe this Bitcoin is the awakening that the human race needs to then go, we don't need these evil blood-sucking vampires ruling us, which seems like, right? And who knows, then maybe we'll be accepted into the Galactic Federation when we have the world in a new, vibrating, harmonious way, in a real way, backed by something that's real, because math is the universe's language, right? So it's like they're giving us a little hint of that. And I don't even want to go into crop circles and other things, but this is something that we can understand and use. And so it's like, hey, why not take advantage of it? But it really does change you spiritually. It really does. It changes your DNA after 10 years. I mean, if you get into Bitcoin, you understand it, and you just keep, your finger on the pulse of Bitcoin, then after 10 years, you will be like, what Democratic Party? What bank? What laws? Like, there's laws, but they're universal laws. They're universal laws, right? And the man-made ones, I feel like they dilute what's good and evil, right? You have the most evil people that are both Democratic and Republican, but you also have really good Democrats and really good Republicans. So they blur it with oh, you have to pick this or this. Why not pick good over evil, right? And understand infinite intelligence instead of forget this good and evil. It's all about money and control, and AI, is the all thinking, right? Because AI can. Oh, go ahead.
10 years ago, they didn't want to hear nothing. Now I'm hot. They all on me.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you loud and clear on that.
So you actually said something very interesting about planting a tree now. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today, right? And a lot of people, using that analogy, plant trees that they'll never enjoy the shade of in the later years because of time, right? So with that in mind, I'm a father, you're a father. How do you handle Bitcoin inheritance?
My
Tackled that yet?
Yeah. My perspective and my situation's different than other people, right? I want to spend everything and maybe leave a house or two or something, right? Maybe I'll leave them one big, well, who knows, right? I'm sure with the price going up so much, I'll have to, but I want to leave them the only thing that they're obligated to have, which is knowledge, right? And so that will help them more than me giving them any Bitcoin or anything else. I'm a firm believer on the greatest exchange of value is knowledge. So I hang out with my son all the time, teach him Spanish. He can count to almost 20 in Spanish now. He's riding a motorcycle right now at 3 years old. He, has a lot of confidence. And every time he meets another kid, whether they're 3 or like 6, they all love him and want to hang out with him, right? He's just a beaming glow of energy and love and just wonderfulness because I'm there. And that's when I'm investing my time into, right? If I thought, oh, I want to save, what if I save, and I die knowing I'm giving him a good amount of Bitcoin, but I didn't really give him any knowledge? He's either going to spend it or lose it. It doesn't make any sense. If I give him knowledge, right? Like if you give somebody a fish, they're going to ask for a fish again. But if you teach him to fish, then there you go. Right. So that's what I want to leave him, is the knowledge, so he can, take control of the gifts that Mother Nature gave him at birth. Once you do that, then you can have the confidence to do anything that you want in this reality. Right. And Bitcoin happens to be the best vehicle to get you to manifest it. But by the time they get that area, I should be living forever, because in 30 years they should have reverse aging with AI and everything else. So I mean, I'm an optimist, right? And I think in 100 years I'm going to look back and be in this reality, looking at this video, saying I was on a podcast when Bitcoin was 100,000. I was on the radio in Santa Cruz when it was $5,000. I got posts back in 2018 of me scuba diving, promoting Bitcoin, saying I found a Bitcoin at the bottom of the ocean, just having fun with it. So I have these time-stamped events to look back on. That means more than anything, right? Because the value of Bitcoin in 30 years is going to be so crazy. All I want is to reverse age so I can keep spearfishing, have fun, and enjoy life. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have it, because the way technology is advancing, and we'll just have robots doing all the work for us. And the humans that are alive, holy cow, they're going to have the best life ever. And so I'm just manifesting that. And if I go, the good thing is in my situation, I'll say in every situation it's different, is my wife got into Bitcoin in 2013. She's a firm believer, right? And she doesn't like spending any of it. At least I like kind of spending a little bit. So I feel like if I die, even if I spend it all, my kids will be 100% perfect on that end with regards to the financial side. But my goal is to give them the knowledge and the experience to tackle anything that, is a negative thing that comes their way, that they could turn it into a positive thing. I think
Okay.
that's
But yeah, that's great. Can you talk about, if you can, about the technical part and the challenge of passing along keys generationally? Because not everyone is technically adept or skilled. Everybody's not techie. It's
And then what you would do is, let's say you're an older guy, like 60, right, or 70, and you're like, I want to buy some Bitcoin and leave it for my kids. Set up a Coinbase or set up a crypto.com, buy it either in his name or their name, but let the kids have control of it. So if something happens to them, they can easily access it and take it out.
Okay.
I'd say that would be just
That's how you would do it.
an easy way to bypass a lot of things, because then you might have to get the exchanges involved and the governments if they pass away, and then you got to try to access it that way maybe, and you might have to pay some stuff. I don't know. It's kind of a new area, because I'm an OG and I'm only in it 13 years, right? So once people start passing away and these things start happening, then I think that'll be more of like, hey, this is the best avenue. But I haven't really
Right.
thought about that too much. I have, ways of my thinking of doing it, but I think that it's, just like any inheritance, or any type of bank stuff, but having access to it where you can at least give your kids, like, hey, if I pass away, these are my passwords, this is where my stuff is. That's an easy way to access it and get it. And, you can give them, if, let's say you have 3 kids, you could say, okay, well, here's my 24 word key phrases and passcode. Here's some to you, some to you, and some to you, divide it up, and then there you go. Give each one 8 or something and see what happens. But I think it's a little early for that. And and I'm sure there's other business models that are coming out where they're like, hey, invest with us and we'll save it for you, and then you can put this in your will and we'll give it to your kids. I'm sure there's companies out there like that now.
Sure. I recently invested in BitKey, which is I did some research on like how to do this, and I went down the rabbit hole. And before even getting into the legalities and the lawyers and stuff like that and the will, I wanted the transition to happen kind of easily. And my son, he's 21 now, so you have toddlers still. right? You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
for
Well, I don't not
kids.
thinking about it exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and I'm a little bit, I think I'm a little bit longer in the tooth than you. I'm 77 kid. So I found BitKey, and it's a very clean way, easy way to handle inheritance because you set up people through the BitKey and it's all through there. It's not through the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that things are initiated, being that this would be an adult or someone capable of doing this, a teenager or to an adult, right? They could just say something happened to me, then they could just go on to a BitKey and initiate the transfer because I've already set them up as the beneficiary.
So then they would have
My
to
son's.
show BitKey the death certificate, though.
Yeah, they'd start the process since they're
Yeah.
already set up as this. They start the process, and the process in full takes about 6 months just to cool down and all that. But there's no fees, there's no extra things going on.
Yeah, yeah.
If that was the case, but the death certificate and all that, perhaps that would be part of it. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know, that's not even the case. It's 6 months for basically me to come back from the dead and say, hey, this is not happening, right? I'm not dead.
I
You
see what
know,
you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recent reports of me being deceased have been greatly exaggerated. So, you know, not to get into this, not a sales pitch for BitKey, but check it out, you know, just
Yeah, yeah.
something. I think it's good right now until there's something better in place right now, because if it was just on my ledger, it just goes with me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the keys is security and securing the keys and all that. It's challenging. So this brings me to my next question, Jeff. You know, newbies, the tech can overwhelm the beginners. How do you simplify its value for someone just starting out, you know?
I usually would send them my crypto.com referral link because I get,
Mm-hmm.
a good amount because I'm pretty high up with them. So my tier, I guess. So I get a good amount if they get a referral and I like them and trust them. And then that way, if they have questions, I could say, hey, this is what I would do. And then I just tell them, don't buy anything else, just buy Bitcoin. You know, that's what I would say. But and then do your own research, because anytime, if you want to get a ledger or get a treasure or get anything, you just go on YouTube, you learn how to do it, and any normal person that puts a little bit of effort can do it. I just tell them what I use, and then I try to give them a little value in myself because I think we both get a little bit of some type of referral fee if they do it. And so then I'm like, hey, look, if you're getting $25 when you spend your first 100, you're getting 25% automatically just by using my referral link, right? And so do that, get some, whether just put $100 and put whatever in, and that's what I tell them is, try to do something like that. And, if they're like, oh, I want to get a whole Bitcoin, blah, 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 or something, then I'm like, okay, well, I would consider like a ledger or something else and don't touch it for 4 or 5 years, because that's just what I would do if somebody's getting started with a bigger amount, right? Any smaller amount, just put it on the exchange and go from there. And if you even have a smaller amount, like zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, which is now a lot to some people, and you don't want to touch it for 4 or 5 years, maybe a ledger is great too. It's a case by case basis, but I usually just send them that referral and just say, here you go. There's a ton of videos online how to set up and use it. Call me if you have any questions. Only buy Bitcoin.
How do you help newbies when the market dips and the panic sets in? You know, it drops 20, 30, 40, 50%. How
Yeah.
do you stay calm through volatility after 12 years in the game?
Well, like a buddy of mine that I met on the last lobster trip in October, I was on the lobster boat. It's a big boat, right? And I'm sitting there preaching Bitcoin to everybody, right? Well, two people listened to me, reached out after and bought like a full Bitcoin, right? And it was like right around $100. And then what happened, that was like around, I don't know, January, February, something like that, when it was just shooting up. And everybody's getting excited about it because Trump's talking about it. Then it dropped down to like 80 or something, it did a little quick dip.
Right.
And my buddy is
78.
texting me, calling me, blah, blah, and I'm like, and he wasn't like worried, like, he's all like, he just kept asking me, do you think it's going low or should I sell? And of course, I'm like, don't sell because as soon as you do, it could jump up and you lose some of your position. I'm like, just relax, just relax. And then then I would tell him, look, if you're losing this amount, imagine what I'm losing, right? I'm not even sweating. I don't even care. I don't even. look, do I look like I care at all? Right? This is nothing. Just relax. And then I send them videos of some of the YouTubers out there that are talking about it, like Michael Saylor or somebody that's like, oh, getting all hyped up. And I'm like, oh, this is a good little, short or anything. Now I could send him my own videos, right? And then I would send him one, and then he's like, oh, yeah. And then I'd tell him, subscribe to these people because you have to get the rhythm of Bitcoin. If you just do a quick, I'm in, I'm out, I'm scared, or this and that, you don't study it, right? You don't see what other people are talking about on like a daily or weekly time, then all of a sudden you can get a little bit of fear or a little bit of the next best thing, and then you lose it, right? And so yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a IQ test a little bit, but it's also a faith-based test, and you have to have the positive mindset. All the time of me doing it, the rhythm, it came part of me, and now it's like the only hill that I would die on, right? Like, Republican or this or that, but Bitcoin is like the one hill I feel so strongly on. Like, I would say, that's the hill I would die on for humanity. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? So,
That's it for
yeah,
humanity. That's why I love it.
yeah.
So, this cycle has been kind of underwhelming for a lot of people, right? The
Hmm.
performance of Bitcoin, especially if they're just getting in and they're like, I'm supposed to be 10x Moon Lambo already right now.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on? So you've been in it since 2013. How does 2024's halving impact compared to the past cycles that you've lived through?
Bitcoin is something where it's going like in your head and you're like you feeling you're like I know it's going here. And I remember when that halving was coming, like near the end of 2023, I was telling like my dad's friends, I'm like betting them, dinner and stuff. I'm like it's going to 100,000 by the end of 2024, right? Because of the halving, I'm like it's going to 100,000 by the end of 2024. I mean it just is, right?
Mhm.
Well, it took a little bit longer, and now we're at 2025, but it hit 100,000. It just took an extra 6 months or so, or, a couple months. So I was wrong, but it always hits it, right? I said it was going to 10 grand. I said it was going to 20 grand. But when I thought it was going to 20 grand, it went to 17 and back down to 3. Right. So you think it's going to 200, it goes up to 10 something, then back. So I think it messes with people's emotions because that's how other people get rich, right? To beat it, you just buy and hold. And so, it is like game theory. And if you understand it, you just have to play it by the game theory rules.
Recently, there was this big Bitcoin conference, right?
Yes,
Big
I
Bitcoin
wanted to go, the
conference.
one in Vegas. I was literally going to go, but my daughter was born like a couple of weeks before, and I couldn't leave the missus with a newborn and a 3-year-old. So I was like, ah. So it was
Okay.
a family reason, or else I was going. So I told her, I said, now look,
Hmm.
all the other ones I'm going to. And she's like, okay, well,
Okay.
So I had to be there for her on that because it's a situation that
Yeah,
doesn't happen very often.
of course, of course. But 35,000 attendees
Holy
for
cow.
that conference. It was the largest ever, and it felt different. It felt like it has reached this new level of
Hmm.
like engagement and attention, right? How is it different from 2013 era and like
Well,
if you've
you would
seen the
see like
clips and the
Anthony,
stuff like that, what's your biggest takeaways from it?
that the price should be a lot higher than what it is right now. You see the excitement. You see rich people that are, pretty big out there, and they are starting to now realize what Bitcoin is. And when they realize it, they start preaching it. Um, and I wish I went to the event to kind of get hands on, but I watched a lot of it and watched what people said, and they said it did feel very more like mainstream and more corporations. It wasn't like the community type stuff, right? And I'm very happy that there's 35,000 people. I hope next time it's even higher. I hope more people go there just to absorb that energy and the knowledge. But then also it's a lot of confusion for people that might be getting into it because they might go there and seek all this other crypto stuff and say, I want to invest in this or that or these other companies or all these other things. when there's nothing better than having like a piece of history, right? And owning a piece of God's money. And so I think there's some of that confusion, but I also think it's good because the more people that just hear it, they start to see down the rabbit hole, and then they start to go down the rabbit hole, and then that's when it starts to change them, right? For the better. So 35,000 people, I'm sure some of them went there, selling Bitcoin watches. I bought one of them. And anybody that's trying to make money with the community of Bitcoin, I support that, right? I like Bitcoin logos, anything that has to do with it. So I would have probably went there and spent a lot of money, like, boy, I need that watch and that mug and that shirt, and all that. And so I think it's a great thing, but I also think people need to get smarter as Bitcoin evolves, because then there's always more cryptos. There's always the next best thing. There's always, look over here, it to take you off of the main thing, which is just what Bitcoin really is, and how many there are out there, and this and that, and make sure you get your piece of history.
Speaking of history, 80,000 decade-old Bitcoin just moved. 80,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Some people say it's Roger Ver.
I heard that.
Or something, or OG Miner or something. What do you think about that?
Good for them, and it goes to show that how amazing Satoshi is, because he has like 1 million and it's not even touching it. And so, I just, wish them the best. I hope they use it for something positive. I'm wondering what my theory would be after, people saying it's Roger Ver. I think he pulled it out and bought some Bitcoin Cash or something. Because what is the next best crypto? Probably Bitcoin Cash, because it's a tumor that came off of Bitcoin. It's the same thing, and so maybe if he created Bitcoin Cash and he had a bunch early, maybe he's trying to revive his baby a little bit and get it going, because like I understand Ethereum and Litecoin. I bought Ethereum, Litecoin. I was given Bitcoin Cash when they split, right? And so I remember when that split and they were saying faster transactions, let's let the community pick which one. And I was like, I don't know. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I think it's the original. I don't know. I don't really like the word cash in it. You know what I mean? But, I wish I would have sold all that Bitcoin Cash for Bitcoin right when it split, because I think Bitcoin Cash was around $3,000, right? And Bitcoin Cash is now around $500, right? So I think there could be something with that, because if you have God's money, then Bitcoin Cash could be an angel. I don't know. It's so similar, right? Same with Litecoin. But these other ones out there like Fartcoin or XRP or Doge or all those, I would never touch, and I never have touched them. I've dodged all of those crazy ones, because I said if it has a cap, right, like Litecoin or like Bitcoin Cash, at least they have something. It's like a cousin to Bitcoin, right? And so I'm like, well, if Bitcoin's so great, I'm sure his cousin's cool, they're from the same bloodline or something, and not promoting those and not telling anybody to buy it. But wouldn't that be ironic if he goes, well, there's the market cap of Bitcoin Cash is so low and Bitcoin's so high. What is going to be the next best thing when everybody understands Bitcoin and they go, well, I can get 10 Bitcoin Cashes now for $5,000. Well, if Bitcoin goes to 10 million, what's Bitcoin Cash going to do? And who knows, it could be dead on arrival and everything goes to zero compared to Bitcoin, like Max Kaiser said. But if that tumor came off of Bitcoin and is still alive and still working, that has some value there, right? So who knows? I'm definitely not promoting anything other than Bitcoin. But there are some things that other people could say, well, they have a smaller market cap, which means they can produce faster. And right now, the altcoins are lagging. And everybody's like, holy cow, these things could spring up faster than Bitcoin, right? But you're still not buying God's money. You're still not buying a piece of history. You're buying
right.
Just curious. But one thing I would say that I heard is Bitcoiners, right? Once they get to a certain time frame of being in Bitcoin and a certain wealth network, they want to put their energy into conserving the life of humans, aka reverse aging. And so the more people that get into Bitcoin, the more people will want to live longer. Because do you really want to live that long knowing that you're climbing an uphill battle. Everything you're working for, everything is just worth less and less, and you're just trying harder and you're working harder and harder for less and less. What's the value in the life of that? And then you're usually eating bad, and then you don't have the time to gain real true knowledge and have a conversation with your subconscious, right? And the only gateway, they say this, the only gateway to infinite intelligence is through your subconscious. So if you get your subconscious fit and legit, and you take care of your self-sovereign, so you can have these conversations. If not, you're just living life distant from infinite intelligence, like I was a decade ago, right? Just buying everything to make me look like I had a ton of money. Okay. And I think that that's why when I say it does something in here, you're like, there's nothing more important than having this experience right now. Is this something that is like a crazy test for our souls or this and that? Who knows, but I do know energy, like a battery or your mind has either positive or negative, right? So you can only focus on one thing. Focus on the positive, right? And so that's what I do very, very well. Bitcoin helps me do that. And so I hope to, live a long time and get that reverse aging. Everything's going to go that way. And if not, I'll be perfectly fine and happy either way, because things you can't control, you can't control. You look for the silver lining, I guess.
What's the biggest mistake that you've made, in 2013, the early years? What's the biggest mistake that you've made?
Well, what everybody does when they get into Bitcoin, right? It's disguised as an investment. And then I got into Bitcoin. I bought it on Coinbase. And then I go, well, I want to buy these other cryptos, right? Because as you're going on YouTube and you're looking at crypto and Bitcoin, people are popping up. Oh, we have this coin and that coin. And what?
Remember
What?
Feathercoin?
I don't remember Feathercoin, but I can't remember a lot of the names. But I went to, what was it?
Dash.
This is even before Dash. So I went to Binance, right? And I was buying them on Binance. This is before Binance was even like a US one, or before they banned that old one. So I went in and I bought like 5 other cryptos and put in not a lot, just enough to where I'm like, oh yeah, these are, going to be good. But I didn't understand only 21 million. I didn't understand when it's 0.0000 and it's so cheap, it's beyond a penny, that it's probably going to stay that because every year they're producing so much more inflation on just that one coin. But make a long story short, all of the money I put in lost 90%. All the money I put into Bitcoin went up times like 9. So over the 5 years of me kind of dabbling, looking and seeing what's going on, I was like, this is a joke. I canceled the Binance, especially when they said if you don't like kind of switch over to the US one, you're going to lose it. So I said, I'm done with all those. And I'm going to focus just on Bitcoin and, I would like Ethereum and Litecoin, some of the other ones, which some of those paid off, but none of them paid off like Bitcoin. So, hindsight, I should have just bought everything into Bitcoin. So that's why I tell people that, because hindsight is, it's 2020. Like, hey, what could I have done better? Now that I look back on it, what went up? What was the best performing asset? Bitcoin. But what does everybody else do? Oh, I need some XRP. I need some of this. I need some of that. And even me thinking how Bitcoin Cash is decent, it still performed horribly against Bitcoin. And so, but I think everybody does that because they think they're smarter than everybody else, right? Because I was like, oh, well, I'm going to make so much more on this because I made it on this, or, you just have that in your mind, like there has to be something better, right? When you can just be like, well, here's the best thing, the fastest horse, take it, relax, and enjoy life instead of looking online. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? You start spinning your wheels. You're not going anywhere. Just go and use Bitcoin. So that would be my biggest mistake. It's not like a regret at all because it's a learning lesson. And, some of those, I bought Ethereum at what, $15, Litecoin for under, $15. But imagine Bitcoin Cash when it was $3,000. I think Bitcoin was like, I don't know, 15 grand. I can't remember, but it wasn't that high, maybe 11 grand. And so imagine if I just put all that into Bitcoin, I'd have a lot more Bitcoin. Instead, now Bitcoin Cash is worth $5,000 when it was worth $3,000. And so when Max Kaiser says everything's going to zero against Bitcoin, it kind of is. It's definitely not performing like it. And so that's why when I tell people, don't even mess with anything else. And I've told people, 5, 6 years ago that come back to me and say, you told me about Bitcoin and I went and got some XRP. And they're looking at me like, and I'm like, and they're like, well, I guess I should have just bought Bitcoin, because XRP didn't perform at all and sucks. And here I am going, well, it's over 100 grand for a Bitcoin. Then now they're like, I can't even afford one Bitcoin now. And then I have to explain to them they can just put $100 in, and so I think enlightening people on it is fun, but some of them just don't get it. It's like you're beating a dead horse sometimes. So who knows?
Did you get caught up with Mount Gox and all that?
No, never used. No, that was more like a shady type of thing. And if I was buying shady things on it or gambling, then that's kind of when you use that type stuff. But I was listening to Max Kaiser, and he was like Max Kaiser, or he was like, don't put anything except for on a ledger or maybe Coinbase, and that was even a maybe. So I went with the maybe. It was fine, but all those other crazy things that happened. I remember FTX when that collapsed. Their coin went down to like a penny, and it was like at $100 or something, and it went down to like $1 or like a penny, something so low. And this is where these centralized exchanges, even if they're decentralized, but this is where the ones can get people, even like me, to fall for their traps. So I see it go from $100 down to below a dollar, right? And I go, holy cow, it's like 15 cents or something super low. So I sell 10 grand of Bitcoin when Bitcoin was probably, I don't know, like 50, 40K, something low, right? And now it's over 20 grand I lost. And so then I was like, oh, let me hurry up and do this, because if it lost 99% of its value, even it should go back up, and I'm gonna have a lot of money. So I took 10 grand and bought it. And then I wake up the next day and it's like 0.00 whatever, it's like sub penny. So my 10 grand went down to like $100 or something overnight. And that was after other people lost so much money, right? And then those crypto people on YouTube talking about, oh, I lost so much in this and that and blah blah blah. And so I felt like it was a blessing just to only lose 10K, right? Because what if I put a whole Bitcoin in there or whatever? And so I would say be very wary of that, because even myself, and this was just like a couple of years ago when that happened or something, I thought, I'm smarter than Bitcoin. I'm smarter than whatever. And I just gambled and lost hardcore. And I've won a lot of gambles, but that's a prime example of it's easier and better to just buy Bitcoin and hold over the long term, because there's no faster horse, and Bitcoin can't be stopped. All the other ones seem like they could be stopped if they really wanted to, especially because they have a creator. And I tell people, look, if Satoshi came out and he's a pedophile or weird or something, I'd be the first person to probably sell almost all my Bitcoin or something. But they can't find Satoshi. Who is he? Nobody knows. It's like one of the greatest mysteries of my life, because I'm like, wait a minute. It's like the Epstein list or something. It's like out in the ether. Nobody knows, right? Like, and so I think that's one of the biggest blessings for Bitcoin is it could be a bigger pinpoint of infinite intelligence coming into our reality, saying these crop circles aren't working. Here's some math, some code. Wake up, and all you evil vampire reptilian, weirdos that are running the world that aren't good people, let's say, or are living in a fear-based consumer mindset, they're all gonna go with go down, and the rest of us are gonna come up. And the other thing I like to think about Bitcoin is this, a good analogy, right, is water flows the least resistance, right? So Bitcoin's the least resistance for you and I, right? We're getting more value, and we can exchange value. I could send you $1 million right now to Thailand for $50 or less, depending if I use the Lightning Network, right? Imagine if I wanted to send you $1 million from my Bank of America. All the red flags, you probably wouldn't get it for a month, and it would probably be minus like 10K or 20K fees or something, right? And so
if I got
water flows, yeah, if you got it. So water flows the least resistance, right? So when I go to the bank and there's a long line and I'm buying and selling cars and I need $8 grand right now to go buy a car, I go into Bank of America, one, I have to wait in a line, right? Two, I have to make sure they're open. And then when I finally get to the teller and I'm like, hey, I need 8 grand, blah, blah, they're like, we only have three, sir. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I just waited almost like 30 minutes to talk to you for you to say you don't even have what I need. And I'm just going to go buy a car. And the person, if I only wish they would accept Bitcoin, because I could have just went like this, right? So in my mind, and this had to be like 6, 7 years ago, right around 2018, 19, I'm like, all these banks are done for. And I didn't even have a kid then. I'm thinking the younger generation, when they grow up, they have to have driver's license, credit. They have to be 18. They have to go to the bank when it's open. They have to have a social. They have to have all these things. And then I start thinking about all the people around the world, right? If you're in Africa in a village and you want to store your value, either you have to store it in gold or whatever they can come in your hut and take, or you got to store it in their fiat money, which is 10 times worse than ours. But now everybody has a cell phone. Boom. Now they're their own bank. And so I'm thinking they're all going to need it and want it. But people like me that just see that the water's flowing the least resistance, that's Mother Nature. It's just how reality works. And so why would I jump a stream where the water's flowing for me and getting me where I want to go? Even if 99% of the other people are trying to swim upstream, aka in the fiat debt-based system, they don't realize there's a stream. They just have to opt out, go to the other stream where the water's flowing in the direction they want to go. And so that's why I believe everybody's going to start buying Bitcoin at the price they deserve, because water flows the least resistance, right? Water makes all rivers crooked and some bed crooked. It's just go with the flow, so.
If the U.S. cracked down on Bitcoin, made it illegal, would you sell?
No, I'd move to El Salvador.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I want to visit El Salvador. I want to shake Max Kaiser's hand. That's like a goal of mine. And give Stacey a big hug and say, you know what, I got nothing but love for you guys. Like really, like that's one of my goals. But I see what the president's doing down there, and I believe he's the best president out there in the last 50, 100 years, right? And we have Trump, which, I mean, I voted for him. I thought, he was pretty good, but I just don't think he's in control, right? I think it's like,
right.
He's like, he was on this television series, but he wasn't in control of the network. He was in control of his little TV show. So I think it's like the same thing with what's going on, but I think Bukele's like, I don't care, right? Like, I'm going to actually be a good president, get rid of criminals, help the people, and I'm going to do it by legalizing Bitcoin and Bitcoin pretty much, right? And
yeah,
that is what we need. Those are the type of leaders we need. So props to Max and Stacey for going down there and being leaders in that community, because they're on the front line of something where the world will start waking up because a country did, right? Like an actual country, which is a pretty legit country, went from horrible to great. And I'm living in California, which is beautiful and wonderful and some of the most smartest, greatest people and everything, right? But there's homeless everywhere, and everybody's in a fear-based mindset. They're always sick because they get these jabs all the time. It's just amazing that they don't jump the river, do a little bit of knowledge, because they spend so much time making money, but they don't spend a little time learning how to keep money. And so I'm just glad I was always kind of a free thinker and a little bit rebellious, because listening to Max Kaiser really resonated with me. And so hopefully when people hear me talk, because I feel like, being a good talker, a good salesman, I can sell you freedom even if you don't want it. Right? Because it's like, if I could sell somebody a car and they could go to anybody to buy a car and they choose me, I'm pretty positive I could sell somebody freedom. Even if they don't choose me, they don't even know what the heck's going on. So as long as they can listen and gain some knowledge, hopefully they resonate with me, right? And vibrate with what I'm saying, like I did with Max Kaiser, because I just vibrated with him, understood him, and that's all you need. And I'm glad I didn't vibrate and try to understand the government and their policies and their parties and their vaccines, because I would be broke. I'd be miserable. I would be in a fear-based mindset. I wouldn't be swimming with sharks, shooting big fish, and fasting and relaxing and going on podcasts. I would be out, gotta sell cars, I gotta make more money on the grind. So I feel really blessed. And I feel like, if more people get in this river, we can swim together. It sucks kind of swimming alone. But now also, I feel like the community's so awesome. It blows my mind that people want to hear me talk about Bitcoin. because it's like therapy for me. I've been talking about Bitcoin for 12 years. So now it's finally people are like, oh, okay, what's your opinion on it? How did it help you? And it's good because when it's like game recognized game, right? You know, you understand how they're doing, you're like, that works. You know, if you're working out and muscular and you see somebody that's bigger doing it longer, you just respect them and listen to them. And you're not going to say, I just started, I'm skinny and I know everything about it because I looked at some YouTube videos, right? It's, you know, so I think that is an amazing thing that I'm so grateful for because, and look, you're across the world. And I already like you. I already think you're awesome. I already think if I ever go to Thailand, I'm buying you a beer. You know, you seem like a great guy because we have all this spirituality, all this mindset on the same level, right? The same river. We're going down together. And so what do you do when you're whitewater rafting down the river or riding a wave and you see somebody else? You just high five them. We're having a blast, right? And people that aren't riding the wave, getting beat up by the waves, right? They're probably, you know, need to learn how to swim, learn how to surf like us, instead of getting beat up by everything, going, this sucks, and then either end up drowning or not thriving. And so I love talking about Bitcoin. I feel like it's my moral obligation, and that was the main reason why I was like, I don't really need to work anymore, because hopefully infinite intelligence will put me where I need to be and say, hey, look, you know, have fun talking about it. And the community's pulling this out of me. They're not, you know, it was a quick video of me driving back with a halibut in the back talking about my belief in Bitcoin and when I got into it, to then being on the Bitcoin Nova podcast, to then being on your podcast. I was on her podcast again this morning, and now talking about mastermind alliance like we're having, right? Me and her took it to the whole nother level, and we have a big action part of our faith, because me and you have faith in Bitcoin, right? But you have to have the action part. And you, I applaud you because you're doing the action part of the podcast, right? You're doing the action part. I'm doing the action
Right.
part by talking about it, you know, and we also are doing the action part by understanding it and using it. So I think that we're ahead of the curve, and I feel so blessed that people are like, wow, I respect you actually did it, because the people that don't understand Bitcoin are like, oh, you got lucky, or, oh, you know, I wish I did it. And, you know, if it goes back down to 30K, I'll buy Bitcoin. Have fun staying poor. And it's great because I remember like vividly my friends, I go, hey, I got to sell some Bitcoin. You want me to sell it to you for cash? Because you know, it's probably don't have to pay tax that way or whatever. And they're like, no. But when it goes lower, I'll do it, right? And then it goes up from 10 grand to 30 grand. And then I talk to them again. No, it goes back down to 20 grand, right? And then it goes up to 70 grand. You know, and then they're like, oh, no, it has to go back down to 30 grand. And now it's above, it's next is going to be 500,000, you know, and they're going to be like, oh, if it goes back down to 100K, I'll buy it, right? And that just is the IQ test. That's just the tickets of the matrix increasing because more people want them. Supply demand, right? And so the demand to get out of this old dying system when you realize there's a better one is the biggest demand out there. But the problem is, I think the news and the media and even like the AI online, the bots, everything is just to take our mind off of using our subconscious mind to talk to infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence told me to come on here and talk and spread the word of Satoshi because of how much it helped me. Infinite intelligence literally told me, it's like, hey, you know, you make me look good because I made you look good for the last 30 plus years, right? And so I got everything I could ever want and dream of as a kid. Now I have it when I'm older. If I don't, you know, fulfill my moral obligation, I believe infinite intelligence will take it from me in the form of my health or something or whatever, right? And so, you know, I'm kind of also selfish doing this for myself, right? Because if I can share this good knowledge and expand the good side of infinite intelligence, then I'll be worthy of all the good things that I receive in the future. If Bitcoin goes to 10, $20 million and I'm selfish and I never do any of this stuff, one, I won't feel as good, right? And two, I'm pretty sure infinite intelligence will take it away, right? He'll send a great white shark to go take my leg off or something and be like, now you're going to talk about Bitcoin, you can't go anywhere, right? Something will happen. And so I firmly believe just, you know, doing what I'm just believe is right. You know, everybody has that little voice in their head. But when you learn to talk with that voice in a positive way and kind of tell it what it should be thinking, then you take control of your life and stuff. And so people should understand this is a lot deeper than Bitcoin. Listening to me
Yeah.
talk about spirituality and this and that and all these other things is because Bitcoin brings that out of you. It's not like I came into this, oh, I'm super spiritual. I came into this as a hustler, as what is the thing that's going to get me this nice car, get me a house, get me retired when I'm 60. Well, I found something that retired me at 40. And so, it's awesome.
Yes, and I definitely say Max and Stacy have made the most millionaires from a television show by far in history. It's not even close.
Max for president of the United States. I'd vote for him.
Goated, both of them.
Yeah, both of them. And Stacy, I believe, found out about Bitcoin and then told Max Kaiser. So she's the fairy godmother of Bitcoin.
Wow. Wow. Jeff, you spoke a lot about your, your history and the travels and your journeys and what you've been through. What's the toughest personal sacrifice that you've made to hodl Bitcoin since 2013? It's a long time. Was it worth it?
I was going to buy a new Lamborghini and I canceled. So check, this is a funny story. So Bitcoin was around 20K and I go, I'm going to go buy a new Lamborghini. That'll be my flex to help me promote Bitcoin, life Lambo. Everybody's like Lambo, right? And so I put the deposit down 20 grand and it wasn't going to come for like 3 to 4, 6 months, something like that. So it gave a little bit of time, right? And my second car was going to be like a new Corvette, right? Nice convertible Corvette. And so I put the deposit down for the 20 grand and then it went down to like 17 grand. And I go, you know what? Let me take my deposit back. So he gave me my deposit back and I made 3K. And I'm glad I did that because imagine if I bought that Bentley or sorry, the Lamborghini then how much Bitcoin time and energy would cost me now. Now I could buy 10 of them or whatever, or 5 of them. And so I think, that was a good little lesson in, a bullet I dodged. But there's so many of them, it's like, I remember selling Bitcoin at 3K because I was like, I need it for my business. I need to pay some rent or do something. And so I'm like, oh, let me sell a couple in Bitcoin to do that. And now it's like, that's $300,000, right? And hindsight, it's like, holy cow, but I don't regret anything, right? Because I held what I held. I knew what I had, but you do need to sell sometimes, right? And so when I'm like, well, if I got it that low or this, and I still buy now when I get my interest from the exchanges, I still buy Bitcoin every week, every couple of days, but I only sell when I have to, lifestyle chips or things like that. And so I'm glad that I went with the cheaper, nice sports car that still is awesome. And I will one day get one of those Lambos just to say I did it from Bitcoin. But it's not as important to me now as it was probably 5 years ago or, then because now I have kids. So, yeah, and I hear one of
Hey,
them.
Peter Schiff. Yeah, I hear him. That's
Yeah.
part of life. That's a blessing.
Yeah, and now they love Daddy because I'm always around. I'm taking them. I'm buying them little motorcycles, electric motorcycles to go have fun and do stuff. So, I'm putting in my investment with my kids. That's for sure.
So Peter Schiff is warming up to Bitcoin. What's one argument you use to fully flip him? Flip Schiff.
Go to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. Go in the gold mine and go on one of those tours. Because you will see that there's like 100 tons of gold in just the Rocky Mountains, right? And it just doesn't make sense when there's so much of something buried in the ground that you would put your time and energy into it when there's something that is better, right? And even the price of gold, everything, you don't even know what it is. I mean, it's just a number out there. They say, having gold is cool. And I do think that if there was no Bitcoin, gold would be a great store of value and a good thing. But it's like, it's like saying the electric Tesla car that gets, 0 to 60 in 2 seconds sucks and isn't fast. But my car that does it in 3 seconds is way better, right? It's like, okay, it's cool. It sounds cool, right? Because it's physical, it's loud and awesome. But the electric one's beaten by a second, right? And so who knows, I would definitely say anybody in Colorado should go check out those gold mines if they are a Bitcoiner because it it's a shock to look in the tunnel and see the veins of gold just running down, and everybody's so interested, and it's just right there. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd say, but you can't touch it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can touch a leisure, I can touch my Corvette, touch my house, you know. So hey, it makes sense, you know. And you can buy Bitcoin with gold, you know. It's I'm not saying don't buy gold, but and gold's better than fiat or some stuff because you could take a gold coin and go to one of these shops and you don't have to pay any tax. They just give you cash. So that is a decentralized good value of gold. And it is kind of scarce. So it does have some value that end where you could just store it and go buy some stuff, give it to your kids where you don't need keys. You're just like, here's a coin, throw it to them. My dad did that last year. He's like, here's a couple coins, you're having your second kid. I'm like, wow, the first thing I did, turned those into cash, went to the store, got the cash, and went and spent it. And I'm like, I'd rather spend that than my Bitcoin. So,
Okay. All right, Jeff.
all right, my
For the
friend.
lightning round.
Yes,
Lightning
I
round
appreciate it.
made for quick questions,
Oh, okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
short answers, and then we move right to the next question, right? It's just like the Lightning Network. It's fast. Settlement is fast. All transactions are final. All right? We're locking in. You
I
ready?
love it. I got a question for you real quick. When did you start doing this podcast? When did you start taking it seriously and doing it?
Last month,
All right.
maybe
That's what it looked like
2 months
online.
ago.
I would say keep up, keep at it. You have the backing of me and anybody that isn't Bitcoin because you're the action part of the community. That is huge. An ounce of act is worth more than 1,000,000 tons of faith. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And so I will do my best to spread your channel and to of course give you the best content I could. But yeah, I saw that you are starting out. So anybody out there that's like, well, this
Yeah.
guy hasn't been doing it for this many years, or this guy blah blah. You got in 2017. You know what you're talking about, and so keep at it because, like Napoleon Hill says, it's about rhythm and rhyme. And you keep thinking positive. You keep doing it. You'll get everything in life you ever wanted. So yeah.
Thank you.
Oh God. Come here.
Mom, Daddy.
Come here. Yeah.
Mommy is mad.
Oh, say hi to my friend.
Hi.
Hey, are you the kid?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. You want a Bitcoin chocolate?
Yeah.
All right. So check this
I
out.
want one.
Now, who has Bitcoin, right? And you can then pop it off.
Pop it off.
Yeah.
And
And then you eat your chocolate, right? Chocolate,
with
Bitcoin. Look at that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're
I'm
going to go eat
jealous.
this upstairs. I'm going to go finish with my friend. And then we're going to go take your little motorcycle out. Does that sound good?
what's up? What is it? I got my battery charged.
Yeah?
It's charged.
Yeah? You tell them, what do you have? A big black motorcycle?
Yeah.
You do burnouts on it?
Yeah. I'm gonna now do
What is this right here?
Bitcoin.
Yeah, he likes your Bitcoin logo. Yeah, this guy is the Bitcoin kid. He has a Bitcoin sticker on his motorcycle. Check it out, Ken. Bitcoin. Yeah. All right, hey, I love you, but
Great, great, great. All right. Lightning round. Bitcoin or gold in a crisis? Pick one. No hedging.
I don't even need to say the answer. You already know.
The biddies.
You already know. I mean, it's I'm a firm believer of Bitcoin no matter what. And if we have nothing, then gold isn't going to matter. You get guns.
There it is. Trump's Bitcoin reserve happening or nah?
I think it will. I think what they're doing is suppressing the price because Trump's smart. He wants to buy it low. He doesn't want to buy it at $500,000. So the Bitcoin is like the balloon, the beach ball, and it is being suppressed underneath the water. So when it does pop up, I believe it's going to pop up pretty crazy. I think people are saying it's going to be 150 to 200. I think it could do a lot more than that, a lot quicker, or it's going to be suppressed and then it's going to just jump up in another year or two. I couldn't tell you, but I know it's going to happen.
Hardware wallet, ledger or treasure?
Ledger.
Got it. Bitcoin leverage entities like MicroStrategy, good for Bitcoin or the new FTX?
Good for Bitcoin
I think
because
so.
it's Michael Saylor.
Crypto-
Yeah, so I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crypto regulation, fight it or embrace it?
A little bit of both. Laws always change. The one thing that doesn't change is Bitcoin, so I'm not too worried about it. As long as we have somebody like Bukele in El Salvador, I'm not worried.
Proof of reserves. Do companies need to show and prove or nah?
Don't care. Don't trust the companies. Get Bitcoin yourself anyways. So if they show proof of reserve, it could be a lot. Who knows? You know what I mean? They can show proof, and within a couple keystrokes, that proof is gone. So for me, I would say it doesn't matter.
Okay. Will a USA 6102 attack large Bitcoin treasury companies?
You say, will the U.S. do it?
Yeah.
No, because
6102 attack when they take your money, when they take your gold, like they did back in the day.
well, remember, it's a hill I'll die on, so I don't know. It's that's like a life or death question, so I don't know. I think we're too far along now, where people like me and you around the world know what's going on. Where if they tried to take away the one thing that ties us directly to infinite intelligence, I think a lot of people are going to make such a big thing about it. And plus, evil and bad can't really take from good; they can convince you. So I think if we don't get convinced out of Bitcoin, I think there's no stopping it.
Agreed. BlackRock buying BTC, bullish signal or sellout?
Both. But I say anybody and everybody that's buying Bitcoin, it's good for Bitcoin. When one entity does it, I don't know if they're being shady or manipulating the numbers, who knows? But when they come out and they say that they're for Bitcoin, then I say I don't care. They hopefully are good or are trying to be good, even though they may have some bad aspects of it. But anybody that says that they're buying Bitcoin, no matter what, I would support them because they're also buying our bags too. So same thing.
I like it. El Salvador and Bhutan are all in on Bitcoin. What's one country you think or you want to see adopt Bitcoin next? And you can't say US.
Mexico.
Mexico. Why?
Yeah, because the Mexican people are amazing. They're lovely. They're wonderful. There's good weather and they're close by. So I wouldn't have to travel too far. Just go right down to Mexico and enjoy and have a great time down there. And
Arriba. I
hablo
like it.
español también, so I can get around and have fun too. So the Spanish that I learned, and that's how I know that the Mexican people in Mexico, I can't say about the other countries, are some of the most loving, wonderful, nicest people you will ever meet. That's why when a good person comes here and they have to live in fear because of these ICE attacks from Trump or from the Republican Party right now, that because they're in charge and they're doing it, is one of the most horrible things that made me realize I don't want to be a part of a party that thinks it's okay to take good people for no really good reason. You know what I mean? And all they had to do was say buy or give us zero point 0.1 Bitcoin and you get your citizenship. El Salvador, I think it's like a whole Bitcoin or $1 million or something that they want. But if El Salvador said 0.1 Bitcoin, you get your citizenship, I'd probably do it. And so I think that it's fair. And then we can easily sell 10 million of those citizenships. There's the million Bitcoin for the strategic reserve. And we get good people to stay in America legally.
Boom.
So it's like a win-win.
Yeah. That last transaction took a little bit, Jeff, but it finally settled. Mexico, it is.
I talk
like it.
But yeah, Mexico.
I like it. Hey, man, Jeff, you seem like a great guy to go get a beer with, do some spearfishing, do some whitewater rafting, have the kids on the electric bikes. And, anytime you're in Thailand, we'll come out here to the island I'm on, man. We'll kick back, have a great time, get on some jet skis or something.
Yeah, is there good scuba diving out there?
Oh yeah. Coach
Yeah.
Al.
Yeah, I heard so. That'd be the reason I get to go out. I'm going spearfishing and scuba diving. See ya. So
Yes.
I'll be out there one day. I'm sure we'll get that beer together.
This is a serious, honest, sincere invite. If you ever do, we gotta connect.
Yeah, and if I go there, I will take you up on it for sure.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to be with Mr. Jeff Gucci Long, OG, triple OG, in the Bitcoin community. I'm Caliph signing off for the Real Hard Money Podcast. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.
All right, adios.
Thank you.